So I'd love to take a moment to chat to you about integration and breathwork. As you've figured out by now, breathing can provide some pretty profound experiences. You can gain access to these really profound releases energetically, emotionally, but also physically, releases from tension and more. And breathing indeed gives you access to the full spectrum of the human experiences. We have breathing techniques that can help us calm down, as well as breathing techniques that can actually help us gear up. And the question that is often unanswered is, where do you find the balance between the full spectrum of all these exercises, and what does a week of healthy breathing actually look like? And that's part of the philosophy behind why we created this program, is to show you a 7-day flow of breathing exercises and make sure that you actually have the full range of techniques available to you. So one of my favorite quotes is as follows: if you ignore the mundane, the sacred will burn you. But if you ignore the sacred, the mundane will wear you down. And that really is what comes to inform my personal breathing philosophy, okay? We cannot only have the sacred, and the sacred in this example is actually the deep and fast breathing exercises that do give us access to peak experiences, right? Deep emotional releases, but they also can help us step into altered states of consciousness. If you do only those exercises, if you only engage in the deep breathing exercises, you're going to find you're going to tune out of balance, and it's actually not good and sustainable for the nervous system. The other thing that happens is something called hedonic adaptation, where the thing that was once a profound experience now actually becomes the new normal. And what happens then is people start chasing the high because the techniques stop working and they stop actually giving them the results that they were originally looking for. So one of the ways to prevent that from happening is actually to make sure that you don't ignore the mundane, because then what will happen is the sacred will burn you. The mundane in this example is actually the work, right? It's doing the work. It's the restoring the natural flow first of all, and then using different slow breathing exercises for balance, and really making sure that we also tune the parasympathetic nervous system and that we stay connected to our breath. Even when we're flying through the sky, we keep our feet on the ground. Now, if you only do the mundane, right? If you only have the slow breathing practices and you're working every day diligently on actually slowing your breathing down and being focused, what you might find is that it gets a little boring. It comes to wear you down, and this is where having the deeper and faster breathing exercises can actually prevent you from getting stuck in different plateaus as well. Sometimes when we're trying to get to the solution of the problem with the slow breathing exercises, we're trying to work very hard on increasing our biochemistry, right? We're really figuring out the holding patterns that we have around our diaphragm and how we can release those. We're even starting to see improvements in our heart rate variability. Really, the mind-body connection starts to improve and the breathing cadence starts to lower. We reach plateaus. And then sometimes all it takes is one of these big, deep, beautiful breathing releases to actually help us progress. So it's a dance. It's a dance between both worlds. And that is what you're going to do today, is actually to engage in both sides of the spectrum. You're going to breathe both slower than normal and faster than normal. And this actually comes to provide balance in the middle. One other way I look at this is, it's actually like on the spectrum of breathing exercises that we've discussed, you've also got a spectrum of the nervous system, right? Whereas on the far right, you've got the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about calming down. It's all about learning to self-regulate, right? And it's very important. If I didn't have techniques that could help me self-regulate, I wouldn't keep my cool and I probably wouldn't be here today. But this is largely what our society is today. It's one over-regulated mess, right? Where everybody's constantly going around making sure that they are fine, right? That they are fine, and everybody's going to yoga and they're meditating and they're practicing their headspace applications and different things. And as soon as some of those sympathetic feelings and sensations come bubbling up, we suppress them and we push them down. And this is actually at the sacrifice of a life lived to its fullest, because breathwork, as an example, is actually one of the things that provides us access to the full duality of our nature, right? We also have a series of breathing techniques that can help us press the release valve, right? We can actually learn to breathe and engage with the sympathetic nervous system, which is like tuning the breath in a different way. And what this can actually allow us to do is to release and to discharge some of these things and some of these feelings and emotions that are so easily shoved under the rug in day-to-day life. Because the only thing that's not okay in today's society is to not be okay, right? Is to have a breakdown. And in breathwork, we actually call that a breakthrough, right? The ancient breathing masters used to call it a spiritual emergency, shaking uncontrollably, throwing a fit, breathing free and deep, and also expressing yourself freely. And so breathwork actually allows you to become conversant with the sympathetic nervous system, and it helps you to release and discharge some of these holding patterns, to uproot and unnerve some of the deeper patterns that actually hold us stuck in these states of anxiety and this inability to just be in the moment. So this really is the essence here. We both have techniques that can help us calm down, regulate, integrate, right? And actually make sense of our experience and lift the overall floor and create more balance. But then we also have techniques to help us discharge, to help us override, and actually help us gain access to deeper parts of ourselves. And in my opinion, in a perfect world, in a perfect breathing practices, we actually use both, and we actually learn to gain access to what we need at whatever time. Now this week you've learned a bunch of techniques that you can actually keep with you for life, and the quest is going to be one of finding balance. Sometimes choosing what's easy, sometimes choosing what's right, and sometimes the road of excess leads to wisdom. So it is actually a really fun journey, and I can't wait to hear from you what you make of this talk and how you're going to start integrating breathwork into your life. You've got some pretty amazing breathing journeys ahead for yourself today. And also tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to break through using breathwork and how breath can actually help you release trauma, stress, and tension from your body, and really how your breath can set you free. See you on the other side.